All right, welcome back for another live Wednesday coaching teaching call. I want to get into things. I know this is a huge problem for a lot of people, addictions, habits, and cravings and alcohol. And I can tell you right now, I am really feeling the effects of cravings. I'm doing a 4-day fast right now. And so I have a lot of cravings going on. And so this hits home for me more than anything. Also, there was a time period as a first responder and that I switched to day shift. And I've never been a big drinker per se, maybe when I was younger, but once I, got into becoming a first responder and just doing the things that I did, I really stopped drinking a lot of alcohol, and I would only go out and drink wine occasionally. And that was kind of what I would do. But when I went to day shift, I found myself, I was home every night. So I would like to relax, and I would have a glass of wine, maybe two, mostly just one. And I had this really good clean wine. And so that was my excuse for drinking this wine. It just was really tasty. It was nice. It had a lot of polyphenols. And so I thought, oh, well, it's actually probably good for me. And now I know that's not true. At the end of the day, we know alcohol is a neurotoxin, and it can be very addicting, right? For me, it wasn't addicting. It was more so it was just comforting, right? And so I would constantly be drinking it at night, one glass every night with dinner. And it was a very clean wine. So that was my justification. I can tell you right now, just tracking my sleep and everything, it wrecked my sleep. I mean, you would see a decrease in HRV and all kinds of things like that. Now, what I want to talk to you about today, though, is I'm going to give you some reasons why what I'm going to talk about is going to work for you. If you're trying to quit alcohol or just quit a bad habit, what we're going to talk about is the reason it's going to work for you. And why I'm so confident is that it works at a biological level. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some supplements, and I'm going to talk about some system approaches, how you can approach habits and cravings. And you can reverse all of that in the same way that I pretty much quit alcohol completely out of my life. And so one is it works because it works at a biological level. Like, it works on your cellular level, right? And we'll talk about that with some of the supplements, some of the things I'm talking about. The second thing is I look at it from a systems level, right? I talk about habits specifically and how they're formed, and cravings. I talk all about cravings and habits, by the way, in my book, my best-selling book, Ignite. There's a whole entire chapter on cravings and habits. If you want to go deep on this, go pick up this book. It's got some of the latest research on it in 2023, and it'll really give you a good idea of how you can start ending these. The other thing that most people have a problem with is just their environment and other people sabotaging them, other people getting in the way. And so we'll address that. And that's why I promise you what I'm going to talk about, it's going to work. So let's talk about some of the things that let's talk about habits first. Right. And so when we look at habit formation and why people form habits, why they break habits, why they don't start things at all, right? That's a systems level. And so let's look at, I'm going to give you the two most obvious ways that you can create a new habit or even break a new habit. Now, number one is you want to look at your environment. Like, what is your environment? If your environment is exposing you to alcohol regularly, right? Or you're buying alcohol, so it's in your household, well, then your environment is conducive to drinking alcohol. Same thing with me and my wine membership and all the wine I was drinking. So if you want to just simply cut that off, create an environment that doesn't allow for that. Make it so that you don't have alcohol in the house. Now, some people will say to me, yeah, but Joel, I can easily go to the store. Sure, you can. But we're at least creating some friction and preventing you from doing that, right? So number one is change your environment. That's one of the fastest ways. Same thing if you want to go to the gym or anything, create an environment that makes it conducive and easy to go into the gym. Same thing with eating a new diet. That's a big one too. Get the bad food out of the house. If you don't want to eat bad food, get out of the house. It is the easiest way, and it will create some friction again if you do try to go get it. Or what I like to do, the second easiest thing I think is replace a bad habit with a good habit. And that is the next best thing you could do, especially when it comes to breaking habits, right? So in this case, for alcohol, what I found myself, what I liked it was just a comfort habit. And I liked maybe some of the relaxation effects from alcohol. So what I did to replace it, and now we're going to get into the biological systems level, is I replaced it with this drink right here and it looks like a brown, muddy kind of water. And that's exactly what it is. Actually, it's called kava. And I don't know if anyone has heard about it here. If you have, drop me a comment. I'd love to hear what other people are doing if you've actually heard of this. But I'm going to explain what kava is. I actually did a whole podcast with Cameron George, I have his supplement here also. I like that as well. It is called Kava Plex, and it's a serum of kava. And you can actually just, take it orally, put it on your tongue, and it has the same effects. I like the drink. It lasts longer. It takes some getting used to. But what kava is it's a plant elixir, okay? And it's it's a root, okay? And it's been traditionally used in the South Pacific. And what it's known for is its mood boosting, cognitive effects, and anxiety relieving effects. Now, from my understanding, the South Pacific, they use kava like it has such transformative, benefits. Before they have like a big decision to make or they have an argument, they actually go to the kava bar. They drink kava. It's like a celebration. They're going to drink it prior to making any big decisions. They want everyone to be like level-headed and on the right, just tone, if you will. And so kava has these interesting compounds. They're called kava lactones, okay? And they modulate key receptors in the brain. Now, Cameron George, just, the guy who I interviewed who created his own company on kava because he found it so beneficial, he actually taught me all of this. And the reason he got it turned on to kava was he was addicted to benzos, okay? So this was a guy whose life was in shambles and he had tried a lot of different things. And kava was what really broke him from benzos. And he realized the more research he did, is like, man, this has like a lot of benefits. I didn't know that. And I mean, just think about that. Benzos are from my understanding, never been addicted to benzos, but from talking to people that have had, that's a pretty difficult one to just walk up and break, right? So he was able to break himself free from benzos using kava. So I think it's a pretty valid supplement, if you will. And there's kava bars all over. Here in Idaho, I know there's one. There's in California, I know several. I know Florida. They're all over the place. So just Google kava bar and you probably have one near you and go check them out. So these kava lactones, they go into the brain. And why does it work similar to alcohol? Well, it increases the activity of those pleasure chemicals that we all know about: dopamine, serotonin, GABA. That's what everyone's experiencing when they're drinking alcohol. They're experiencing that GABA, that mood relaxing, that makes them feel more relaxed. And so alcohol does increase GABA, but it will wreck your deep sleep. And I have seen that over and over again. So you might feel relaxed and rested because it is increasing GABA, but it also has, believe it or not, it fragments your sleep. And I've seen that myself, even just with one glass of super clean wine. So understand that it has the same effects as GABA. And the nice thing is you can drink as much kava as you want. You might have these mood enhancing effects, but you will not have any hangover, which is really nice. And it kind of makes you like, great, I can drink as much kava as I want. So in the islands, kava is known as this gentle psychedelic is what it really is. And it brings about this creative and introspective kind of thinking that makes people more empathetic over time, which I thought was really interesting. And so again, what's nice about it, you don't get that drunkenness or your motor skills don't become detrimental. It's non-addictive too, which is nice. So here's some of the big bullet points of why I like kava and why you could use it. Okay. So deep and REM sleep, it improves. It is known for reduced cravings, specifically also for drugs. We saw that with like the benzo example I gave you. It's an anti-craving agent. It helps rewire the brain. It's actually going to help you upgrade your empathy. So think about this, dads or anybody, I think we all need, as a first responder and kind of the archetype of the warrior, I have a difficult time, I would say attaching to emotions or feelings. I detach pretty well and I need that as a survival skill, but being able to empathize and feel with others is a huge skill. And so kava actually helps with that. It helps rewire the brain. Pretty neat. Increased GABA levels. Like I told you, that's going to be better mood, better sleep. It helps block sodium and calcium channels. So this is anybody that's fancy for, I would just say inflammation or EMFs if you're exposed to that and that you're sensitive to that. And it's a COX-2 inhibitor. What this means, COX-2 inhibitors are things like the NSAIDs that you get over the counter, right? So things that block pain and inflammation, it's a COX-2 inhibitor as well, similar to things you get at the NSAIDs, but you don't have to worry about the stomach issues or intestinal or even liver issues. It's and then I got two more for you. It's an NRF2 activator, which means NRF2 is a main pathway for detox when we think about it in the body. So it's going to help activate that pathway. Pete just jumped on and said, I quit 25 years ago and drank non-alcoholic beer. Nice. Yeah, I've tried that. that one beer company that's pretty popular out here. I forget what its name is. Somebody might know. Athletic Brewing Company. I think that's what it is. It's good. Tastes like beer, but I just find why even get the yeast or any of the other junk in it. That's kind of my thought. But yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. And then the last one, AMPK activation. So there's pathways in the body, but AMPK is known for weight loss and energy. And so those are some of the things that it does. So kava hits a lot of different paths. It's definitely an acquired taste. I don't find it that bad. I mean, for me, it's easy for me to, drink some of these things and get used to it. But just like wine and beer, I mean, I don't think any of those originally tasted very good. It was an acquired taste. And so again, the reason why I like this and it works is we have all the biological effects that I explained to you that kava does. The second thing is we're simply changing the environment on a habit systems level. We're changing the environment by replacing a bad habit for a good habit. And I think that's just one of the easiest ways. There's lots of other ways you can change habits. These are some of the fastest ways that I've seen. You need to, when you look at the habit formation, and I'll talk about it in my book, but you need to look at, what's your motivation? What's your ability? And so what's your motivation to stop the habit from breaking it, right? What is your ability to actually do the habit? So by just simply removing ability from habit formation, right? We've got by simply just removing the ability to even do the habit, it's just the easiest. It's one of the easiest I found. Or you can change the prompt. That's the P. So MAP, motivation, ability, prompt, map. If you can change the prompt, which in this case we are, that's what we're doing. We're changing the prompt. Instead of drinking beer or drinking whatever, a glass of wine, in my example, after dinner, you're going to change the prompt. You're going to change the prompt entirely by prompting yourself with a different drink. So that's what I got. I got Peter on live talking about some of the things that he does. Went from switching to non-alcoholic beer. A lot of the non-alcoholic beers don't taste good, but I know Athletic Brewing Company makes a pretty decent one now that I've tasted not too long ago. And now he only drinks water. So there you go. And you get it by all the social pressures. Yeah, totally. And that's just staying grounded in your morals and your values, right? And that's part of the environment factor. There's things you can do. I've seen, you can get a cranberry with a lime in it and people will not know the difference. Or you just simply tell people, I'm on a program. I'm trying something new. I'm trying to get healthier. I think people respect that. I don't care where you're at or who you are. There's a lot of people that want to bring you down because there's a fear in them that you're going to be better than them and that you're not going to be drinking. But I know for a lot of people, if you just tell them enough times, like, all right, like I'm not drinking. That's all there is to it. And it's because I'm on this new health kick or I'm doing this. People eventually start to accept you as that new person. It's a shift in identity. And that is the highest form, by the way, of habits, when your identity completely shifts. And I'll give you a quick example, and then I'm going to jump off. The example would be this. If I were to offer you a cigarette let's just do this on me. If you were to, I'm not a smoker. If you were to ask me, Joel, would you like a cigarette? My answer would be, no, I don't smoke. If you are a smoker and you're trying to quit, and I said, hey, would you like a cigarette? You might say, oh, no. I'm actually trying to quit right now. Notice the difference, that little nuance in identity. Me, I'm like, I don't even smoke. Like, it's not even a question. Like, I would never do that. Thanks. The other person's like, well, maybe, but just not right now because I'm trying to quit. Like, there's a difference. There's a difference in tonality and a difference in identity in the person who has actually quit and has completely gone off of it. It's like, that's not even a part of my identity. I would never even do that. Like, that's a different mindset. And so when you can actually change your identity, man, everything changes in your life. So I hope this was helpful. This was kind of a quick, dirty deep dive on habits and specifically something like alcohol, which I know a lot of people struggle with. I hope this was helpful, guys. If you're not in my first responder men's community, be sure to join the free Facebook group. I'd love to see you in there. There's a lot more men that we need to raise up, I think, in this world. And we need to build the next generation of strong men who are going to carry the torch and build the legacy for their kids and their kids. And so that's a huge thing. So if you're not in that group and you need some other support other than therapy or maybe some other crazy modalities that you've tried, come on, jump in. There's a good group of men to hold you up in a brotherhood. And that's what it's all about. And I know I've gotten a lot of value out of being another men's group and just sharing my frustrations and fears and desires, and it helped level me up. And so that's why I'm doing this for all the first responder men out there. All right, guys, have an amazing Wednesday, and I'll catch you next week.